Welcome back to the deep dive. We're the place where we don't just skim the surface. We really take the sources apart to find that practical operating manual.
That's the goal.
And today we're looking at something that seems, pretty ordinary, daily routines. But these aren't just any schedules. We've got two really detailed accounts from Daniel and Sarah. Think of them less as schedules, more as, well, organizational blueprints.
Absolutely right. And these accounts are meticulous, almost down to the minute sometimes. Our mission here is to look beyond just what they do.
Yeah, the sequence of events.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to pull out the strategies, the habits they use for, say, managing their energy, staying productive. How do they organize their time?
Right. We're hunting for that transferable knowledge. How do they segment their day? How do they deal with stress or just, feeling tired? We're using these really specific examples to find those leverage points that you, listening, can maybe apply in your own life. Okay, let's
unpack this. So the day kicks off, and right away, you see a strategic choice being made. Sarah's up at 6:30 a.m. Okay? Daniel, he starts a bit later, 7 a.m. But honestly, that half-hour difference, it's not the main story. What is then?
It's the sequence of what they do first and how they handle that. Let's call it transition friction from sleep to wakefulness.
Oh, okay. Sarah seems like she's got this really internally driven morning down pat, alarm goes off, then it's a chain of actions, right? Stretching.
Yep, stretching, a moment of positive thought, or maybe prayer, she mentions, and then straight to drinking water.
And crucially, she holds off on the phone, makes a point of delaying screen time.
That delay, that screen avoidance, that's a huge strategic move. Think about it. She stops external demands, emails, news alerts, social media pings from grabbing her attention first thing.
Protecting her focus. Exactly. She's building up her own internal energy before the outside world rushes in. Protecting her cognitive bandwidth, really.
Interesting. And now Daniel, he actually says he's not a morning person.
He does, yeah.
He admits he feels sleepy. So he relies more on an external kickstart, his main tool.
Yeah.
A quick shower to, quote, wake up fully.
So he's using an environmental switch, a physical change, to get his system going.
Okay, so that highlights a real difference in approach, doesn't it?
It really does. Sarah is sort of proactively cultivating energy through these gentle rituals and mindfulness. Daniel needs more of a necessary jolt to get activated. Both work, obviously.
Sure.
But Sarah's method feels designed for more sustained, maybe lower stress energy. And she adds that short workout, stretching, yoga, sometimes a quick walk. It's another intentional physical step, a protected little chunk of time before the workday madness begins. And that intentionality carries over to breakfast, too. Daniel goes for simple stuff, eggs and toast, quick, easy fuel, minimal prep.
Sarah, though, seems to prioritize healthy eating more deliberately. Oatmeal, fruit with yogurt.
Which suggests maybe a slight difference in energy planning. Daniel's is like, get the engine started, quick fuel.
Yeah.
Sarah's feels more like, put in the good stuff for the long haul, nutrient-dense fuel to last the morning.
So what's really striking here is how that deliberate morning structure acts as a foundation.
Absolutely. They're front-loading things like physical movement, hydration, maybe some quiet thought, building a resilient base for the day.
So the question for anyone listening becomes, are you just kind of stumbling awake, maybe relying on caffeine or external things to get going?
Right. Or are you consciously investing in these small internal rituals to actually generate your own momentum for the day ahead? Okay, so work starts for both of them around 9 a.m.,
Yeah.
but how they gear up for it, totally different priorities again.
Yeah, this is interesting. Before Sarah actually starts working on tasks, what does she do? Checks her calendar, writes down her to-do list.
Okay, planning first. Her first few minutes are pure organizational setup. She's setting her internal agenda for the day.
Daniel, he does the opposite. First thing is emails. Checking, replying.
He prioritizes that external communication flow, responsiveness.
So if your job demands that constant back and forth, maybe Daniel's approach feels more natural.
Could be. But if you need blocks of deep, focused work, Sarah's plan first method, that's probably going to save you cognitive energy later. Less context switching.
That difference kind of mirrors their work setups too, doesn't it? Daniel's mostly working from home.
Right, which is convenient, but he does mention missing the interaction with coworkers.
Whereas Sarah has a hybrid setup. 3 days in the office, 2 at home. And she specifically says she chose that for balance.
Suggesting she's actively managing her need for both social connection and focused work by changing her environment. It's a conscious choice for balance.
Okay, but let's talk breaks, because this seems like the real secret sauce for keeping efficiency up all day.
Yes. Break structure is critical. Sarah is, well, she's meticulous about it. Takes a short preventative break around 11 a.m.
Preventative. How so? Well, it's before she might desperately need it, just a quick walk or a cup of tea. Then she takes her main lunch break later, around 12:30. That 11 a.m. break, that feels really strategic, like heading off the slump before it hits.
Exactly. It acknowledges that natural dip in energy that happens mid-morning for a lot of people. It's a small reset. It stops burnout before it really sets in and requires a bigger recovery effort later.
Smart. Now, the post-lunch slump, that classic energy crash around 1 or 2 p.m., this is where their strategies get really interesting again.
Yeah, two quite distinct ways of handling it. Sarah uses what I'd call a soft sensory adjustment. Green tea, maybe some calming music playing softly while she works.
Okay, managing the environment.
She's tweaking her surroundings to help maintain focus. Daniel, on the other hand, goes for physical action. A quick walk outside, get some fresh air, or maybe do some stretches.
Movement versus sensory input.
Right. If we zoom out, they're both tackling the same physiological dip, right? But one uses sound and, well, maybe the L-theanine in green pea.
Uh-huh.
The other uses movement and a change of scene. Both are valid tactics for managing that energy low.
So for you listening, trying to stay sharp through a long workday, the lesson isn't necessarily drink green tea or walk outside.
No, not necessarily copy them exactly.
It's the intentionality of doing something. A break isn't just stopping work. It's actively using a tool. Maybe it's tea, maybe it's fresh air, maybe it's something else entirely to recharge a specific system, whether that's cognitive focus or physical energy.
Precisely. It's an active intervention.
Okay.
All right, so shifting gears. The transition out of work mode is just as vital as the morning startup, wouldn't you say? Because it really sets the stage for quality rest.
Absolutely. Daniel seems to draw a pretty clear line, finishes around 5:30 p.m., and immediately shifts into a non-work activity. Gym, reading, listening to music, that's his boundary, right? Stopping work stress from bleeding into personal time.
That intentional boundary is key. Sarah has a similar boundary, just slightly later. She shifts gears around 6 p.m., maybe into yoga or a home workout. But here's a fascinating detail about her evenings.
The cooking.
Yes, the cooking. She cooks dinner most nights. Pasta, soup, grilled veggies are mentioned, and she explicitly says she finds it relaxing.
Relaxing. Cooking can feel like a chore for some people.
But think about why it might be relaxing for her. It's a structured task. It requires focus, but it's a different kind of focus than work. It's complex, involves physical actions, maybe some creativity, and importantly, it's not digital.
Ah, okay, so it's like a mental palate cleanser.
Exactly. The brain often needs that kind of structured complexity to kind of process and clear out the residue of the workday. Passive screen time doesn't always do that. Cooking can actually reduce the cognitive load from work by engaging different parts of the brain and body.
That makes sense. Daniel's approach is looser there. Cooks only a couple of times a week. Relies on leftovers or takeout more often.
Which shows, discipline doesn't have to mean high-effort tasks every single day. But that transition ritual, that boundary activity, whether it's the gym like Daniel or cooking like Sarah, that needs to be there in some form. Okay? And as they head towards bedtime, we see another shared habit pop up. Planning for the next day. Yes, that's the final organizational piece. Sarah, after maybe watching something or listening to music, lays out her clothes, sets her alarm, practical prep.
Daniel Love focuses more on mental wrap-up. Checks his planner, reads for about 20 minutes, or sometimes writes in a journal. He says that's to clear his mind.
And that journaling piece is really significant. Writing things down, tasks, worries, thoughts, it externalizes them. You're essentially offloading them from your brain's working memory before you try to sleep.
Reducing mental chatter.
Precisely. That noise that keeps so many people awake, journaling can help quiet it down.
So, the source material mentions that a good night's sleep gives you energy for the next day, which sounds obvious.
Right. But how do they ensure that good sleep? We need to look at the actual sleep hygiene. Sarah uses calming music, deep breathing. Her bedtime is fairly early, 10 p.m. Daniel goes to bed a bit later, 10:30 p.m. But he admits something interesting. He struggles to stay off his phone right before bed, scrolls for a few minutes.
And that little bit of scrolling, that's potentially undermining his whole wind down.
It's a breach of that intentional boundary we talked about.
Exactly. It injects stimulating blue light, external information, maybe even stressful news, right when the brain needs to be powering down. Sarah's consistency with her rituals, the breathing, the music that seems much more aligned with promoting high-quality, restorative sleep.
So even if their bedtimes are close, the quality of that wind-down ritual could make a big difference. It's not just when you go to bed, but how you get there.
Absolutely. The ritual quality is paramount for truly restorative rest. Okay, so we've looked at these two routines in detail. We've basically identified two pretty successful but quite different ways of organizing a day.
That's right. You got Sarah's approach, which feels very high structure, focused on internal cultivation, planning.
Yeah, very proactive. Her system seems optimized for predictability, sustained focus, that kind of rigidity, the planned breaks, the intentional morning, the cooking ritual. It probably reduces decision fatigue throughout the day.
Definitely. It seems ideal for someone whose work requires a lot of deep thinking, knowledge work, where managing energy very tightly is crucial.
Then you have Daniel. His system feels more flexible,
Right.
responsive, driven more by external stimuli.
Yeah, it optimizes for adaptability, maybe responsiveness. He uses things like the shower, the quick meal, the movement breaks to compensate for or maybe manage inherent dips in energy or motivation.
So his system might be better suited for someone whose day is less predictable, maybe involves more interruptions, requires quicker reactions.
Maybe it allows for more spontaneity, perhaps.
So what's the big takeaway here for you listening? It's not about just copying Sarah or Daniel wholesale, right?
No, definitely not. The goal isn't imitation. It's about identifying the underlying principles. The real value, I think, lies in recognizing the power of the intentional boundary.
Explain that a bit more.
Think about it. The morning routine creates a boundary between sleep and conscious self-management.
Okay.
30 p.m. gym session. That's a clear boundary between work time and personal time. Sarah's cooking ritual does the same thing.
So you can apply this idea by looking at your own day. Where are your transition points? Between waking and working, between working and unwinding, between unwinding and sleeping.
Exactly. Are those transitions intentional, or do things just kind of blur together? If you struggle with that post-lunch slump, maybe you integrate Daniel's movement break.
Or if sleep is an issue, maybe try Sarah's deep breathing or calming music ritual before bed.
Right. The key is bringing consistency and intention to those compartments of your day.
It feels like the structure itself, the routine, acts almost like a conflict avoidance tool for your brain.
That's a great way to put it. By scheduling when and how you transition or eat or take a break, you're not constantly spending willpower on those small decisions.
Saving your mental energy for the stuff that actually matters.
Exactly. You reserve it for your work, your relationships, whatever your priorities are. Hashtag tag outro. So we've taken our deep dive into Daniel and Sarah's days. We've unpacked these strategies, intentional boundaries, proactive energy management, using things like cooking as structured rest.
Yeah, the efficiency they achieve, it's clearly not accidental. It feels very much engineered. And there was this one really interesting side note in the source material.
Oh, yeah.
It mentioned that simply practicing talking about or writing down your routine can actually help build confidence if you're learning a language.
Huh. That does make you stop and think, doesn't it?
Right. If the simple act of documenting and reviewing your daily habits can tangibly improve a skill like language fluency.
Then what other skills might be improved just by that same process of meticulous observation and documentation?
Exactly. Time management, obviously. Stress reduction, maybe. Even creative thinking.
It's plausible, just the act of noticing the patterns.
So what hidden patterns, what inefficiencies, what opportunities might you discover in your own life just by taking the time to sit down and really write out your day, maybe hour by hour?
That's a really powerful, actionable challenge to leave people with. What would you find?
Indeed. Something to mull over.
Well, thank you for joining us for this exploration into the blueprint of daily life.
We appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next time on The Deep Drive.